Hello, my name is Arlo Liddell. My project was on ethical ecology, restoration, and tribal sovereignty. The host organization for my internship was Green Seattle Partnership in tandem with FLIP, Friends of Lincoln Park. My site supervisor, Lisa McGinty, with the Friends of Lincoln Park, and my faculty advisor was Tammy Home with the American Indian Studies Department of the University of Washington. To begin, I'm going to explain some of the background. So restoration protects and rehabilitates habitats for human and animal use. This looks like the reconstitution of degraded forest lands into pre-degraded areas. Uh, Removing invasive species and replanting native plants. Throughout my research, there was a dissertation that looked at 30 award-winning restoration projects that incorporated indigenous people and small community. Of these 30 restoration projects, there's a 100% success rate, along with sustained management as the indigenous people and small communities around these projects made up a majority of the labor. Another aspect is that these policy decisions regarding forestry are made outside of these forestry communities. Along with the research on ecological restoration, has increased exponentially in the last 20 years. However, academia has not consistently acknowledged the aspects of cultural and community values. Right here in figure 1, you can see the total restoration projects, the total ecology papers, restoration ecology papers in black on the graph compared to the papers that show community values and cultural values. These are extremely low in comparison. Throughout my research and during my internship at Lincoln Park, this concept of ethical ecology and ethical restoration kind of came at the forefront of my mind. This led me to having the research question, is ethical restoration done ethically? And what does that look like in practice? Throughout this, one of my goals was then to advocate for the involvement of the Duwamish tribe in restoration projects in Lincoln Park, along with advocating for their unadulterated cultural practices for the use of felled cedars in Seattle public parks. During my internship, we restored about 2,000 square feet of forest land. I spent about 150 hours over 10 weeks on site, and we held a volunteer event that helped use 20 people's labor to plant and design our site at the end of the 10 weeks. I also conducted a literature review of academic dissertations, including ethical environmental restoration projects with participation of Indigenous communities, along with volunteered at the Duwamish Restoration Site and these advocation for the cultural use at Lincoln Park. So here you can see a small picture that shows the before and after, before on the left, after on the right. These are the same pictures taken 10 weeks apart, and you can see a drastic change in the amount of biomass that we removed. Here's some more pictures regarding each orientation of our site. It's hard to kind of see and quantify exactly how much we did, but this is a huge area that encompasses multiple different and species of invasive and native plants. Here you can see the biggest root from a Himalayan or English blackberry. This was about the size of my fist and about 6 inches long. And on the right, you can see a picture of me that my site supervisor took on my film camera, grubbing up these roots. Grubbing is the act of which you use a small shovel or knife or hoe and you remove these huge balls and huge clusters of roots without damaging or unsettling or compacting the soil around it. Here you can see why these invasive species of blackberries are so tenacious. This is what we call a taproot. A taproot is a root system that grows at the very end of a vine. So you can kind of think of it as like a rainbow that arcs over and then reestablishes that invasive species to then sprout again. And then on the right here, you can see a marsh section of the Duwamish restoration site, Heron's Nest, above the Duwamish Longhouse that we spent a full day at helping grub and pull weeds This was a really spectacular experience. On to my results. So I found throughout my research has been stated, and um, each dissertation has a different definition of ethical ecology, but mine kind of comes from this concept of concentric relationship with the environment. So I say we need to cultivate a concentric relationship with our environment that promotes community-based restoration projects. So this is also sustained from two dissertations. One being from Hernandez, and she was a graduate student from the UW who helped at the Daybreak Star Community Center in Discovery Park. Through these volunteer events, like the ones that we had, we can promote this incorporation of communal use, whether that be cultural, recreational, or aesthetic. The incorporation of communal use and using the communities that surround the project area, especially in urban-based projects, will help reestablish and manage these projects into the future. Speaking of urban-based restoration, these urban-based restoration projects will help to cultivate a education around restoration, and then promoting the inherent rights and constitutional rights of Indigenous people is basically just going to reinforce that familial relationship with land, but also incorporate the sustainability practices of the original stewards. Native Americans have been here since time immemorial and have stewarded the land and sustainably harvested and cultivated the land for their entire existence. So this kind of looks like, in the grand scheme of things, is participation in these small-scale restoration events will translate to an understanding of the importance of the large-scale projects. So this could look like increased education surrounding the educational restoration, or excuse me, the ecological restoration, and responsibility for the integrity and protection of environment and its degradation. I hope to kind of help facilitate cooperation between Seattle Parks and Rec and the Duwamish for the fair use of public land for cultural practices. And this can also look like eventually policy being made to help establish ecological restoration and large-scale forested lands for the reintroduction and kind of recultivation of these natural areas. I want to say thank you to my site supervisor, my internship partner, all of the Green Seattle Partnership stewards, Yvette with Duwamish, and the stewards at Heron Nest for all of their help and knowledge that they bestowed on us.